We should be going.
Right. Me and Louise are hipsters. I love it. Love it. Oh my God. Her glasses. Too cool for this coffee shop. Yes. I love it. That's the winner. Louise will be our first guest next season. I just decided.
She's like, have you seen the horror movie Cats, the musical? The remake. There you go, bud. He's over it. All right. Go destroy something.
Well, welcome everyone to our third episode of Street Halloween. This afternoon, we're talking about the Shudder original movie Spiral. We don't need to do any introduction. No one's new today, so I think
Let me
we're
try to
good
put on a
start
necklace,
going.
though.
All right. Well, I want to start with okay. So this is probably going to be a pretty fairly long conversation. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe some other people want to join in. But for those of you that have seen this film, it is a horror movie centering a gay couple. And I want to talk a little bit about how this movie, I'm happy this movie exists, and then I'm not happy this movie exists. So let's start with the negative, and then I'll end with something positive. It felt very shamey to me. Like, I don't think that was their intention at all, but it felt like they were targeted because they were queer, which, as a gay person, it's difficult to put into words the feelings I had watching it, because it felt very real. Like, it felt very real in that way. So I don't, I want more representation. I want more stories centering gay characters without that being the reason they're there, or without that being the reason that they're being targeted. So yeah, that's kind of my negative about the film. And it's difficult to say because, again, I want more diverse stories, especially, and I liked that one of the gay men was a person of color, but was a Black gay man, which they never really addressed that at all, which is weird because it's set in '95, and so I think that would have been an issue too.
Neighbors addressed it. Them neighbors addressed it a lot.
That's true. The neighbors were a choice, which we'll get to them, I'm sure. I don't know. It just, I think this film has potential, because I liked the idea that they were, so we're assuming people have already watched this movie before they come to these things. So I'm just going to talk about the end too right now, because it kind of goes with what I'm about to say. I think they should have delved further into the fact that they weren't being targeted because they were gay. They were being targeted because they were different. And I don't think they really addressed that until like the last 5 minutes, when you see it's 10 years later and it is a Middle Eastern family moving in.
Mm-hmm.
And they're being targeted now because they're Middle Eastern. So they're being targeted because they're the other. And it felt like, very much, this is going to get kind of political, so I don't want to stay there too long. But it felt very much like this is what the Republican Party does. It picks the targeted community and it goes after them for about 10 years, and it'll go after another one for about 10 years, and it'll go after another one for about 10 years, and it'll cycle back to that first one for about 10 years. I had trouble watching this movie. Now, my positive note, and then we can discuss if y'all want to. I was really happy to see that the gay men were at least one of them. I don't know about the other one. One of them was played by a gay man. As a gay actor, I'm really tired of being told that I can't play straight because that's not believable. Apparently, straight men can't be feminine ever. And then B, I can't play gay because I'm not gay enough, or it's not like there's no air of difficulty in that, like Jake Gyllenhaal and Heath Ledger play gay and they get Academy Awards, but then like gay men have been playing straight roles forever and it's never like, oh, that's so difficult, oh, that's so difficult for them, how daring, let's give them 5 Oscars for one role. And so I did enjoy that Jeffrey Bowyer-Chapman was in this film for that very reason, because I'm tired of this double-edged sword, and a lot of because we're having more actors come out as gay or bi or pan or any of the beautiful colors of the rainbow, and many of them will say once they came out, the roles being offered it come from usually one person, and that's Ryan, whatever his last name is, I can't think right now.
Ryan Murphy, yeah.
Ryan Murphy, yeah. Ryan Murphy will give you jobs and nobody else will. And that's sad. That's what I got to say.
I mean, I totally agree with you. Like, as a queer person watching this, I was like, oh, damn it. Because once they brought up the lesbian couple, I'm like, they can't own a bakery and live in peace? Like, what? Or a bookstore? But really, like you were saying, like, we see the lesbian couple before, their family. We see this family. We see the Middle Eastern family coming in. It's like this film is exploring like the social horrors of our life, right? So like you said, the being different and what happens in this culture when we let evil thrive, when we feed evil, what happens? And so like, even what's happening today, when we keep giving into them and giving them nourishment, they're just kind of growing and growing, and they will never die until we like. And I feel like that old man, like that was one of my points, that old man was finally like at a point where he was learning, where he was like, I'm done. Like, why does he help him? Why? That was that question of like, why is he helping this family right now? Why is he telling them the secrets to get away? And we kind of see that now where people are like, yeah, I'm tired. I'm tired of this. How do we go back from where we're at? And so, yeah, I really feel like this film was exploring that, but it didn't. Yeah, just as a queer person, like you were saying, it affected me a lot because I was like, I have so many fears buying a home or renting somewhere and going out in public and doing these things, and like seeing a horror movie where you're targeted was like, damn it, like when does that end?
And you're targeted for that very reason.
Mm-hmm.
I think my feelings for the film could have been different if the couple before them weren't lesbians, if they were targeted for a different reason, whatever that might be. But it was like lesbian, gay person, Middle Eastern person. And it's like, why? Yeah. Shereen, go ahead.
I was going to just say another issue I had with the movie is the way they handled whatever Malik's mental illness was. I don't think they told us before we were like taking medicine for something. And so, again, the gay Black man is also someone who's suffering from some sort of mental illness, and we're using it as a weapon against him, which I don't like. I don't like when movies dabble with mental illness and don't give it the weight it needs and the time and research, because it comes across as very shaming as well. And there needs to be less stigma around seeking help and getting help. And so to have him here and to have it result in him being the Black man with a gun in this room full of white people also bothered me to hell and back.
Yeah. And I want to bring up too, because they also weaponize his sexuality by making that gaslit situation where now the husband thinks that he cheated on him with those pictures or whatever. And I'm like, why did that have to be in there? And why make it to where the husband was like, well, we could have had a threesome if you would have just told, like, the stereotype of like gay men being hypersexual, which in some, just like we all are sexual, we're every gay, straight, bi, pan, whomever, unless you're asexual, maybe you're a sexual being, you're a sexual person, and using that against him felt exploiting.
Yeah.
And I don't know about the director or the writers. I don't know if they were queer or not. Yeah. I think they had some good intentions, but it just was not executed well.
Exactly. How many times have we seen something with good intentions that was not given the care and the time and the energy? And so we end up with these things that we want to root for, and we see what it could have been, but instead it's just doing more damage.
Yeah.
It makes it worse. Like
I would have rather you not, in a lot of those cases, I would rather you not use Black people than do what you're doing to Black people most of the time. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, sexuality was a big thing too. I mean, you need your virgin, like every movie, for some reason, that pure energy. But like Kayla too, making her like, there's virgins out there. I get it. But why are you making her feel this pressure? This like, there was like a weird pressure for her, and she was, she was developing in her own way and her happiness and getting it together and doing all this stuff. And it was like, no, you got to lose your virginity, or you're not a person. You don't exist. And I'm like, well.
Can we talk about her for a minute? Because she's one of the confusing parts of this puzzle. So like, she has two dads. She seems like she's cool with it. And yet her boyfriend back home is a homophobe who tells her not to drink after them. And she doesn't say anything. She doesn't have a reaction to that. It's just like, I date homophobes. I don't understand that because she doesn't seem like she's like working through anything. She's like, these are my two dads. We're going to have dinner. Sometimes I'm a brat because I'm a teen, but it never felt malicious, at least not as me as a viewer. And so when her boyfriend says that and she doesn't say anything or have a reaction, because that should be a conversation, I feel.
It should be a shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Man, when I was that age and dating, and I would be like, yeah, whatever you want. Yeah, you want to go eat at Wiener Schnitzel again? Okay, but like, I don't know if she was ready to have that conversation. And yeah, she seemed kind of judgmental of the relationship and the whole thing in the beginning, and then suddenly was falling into like the flow. But
then her and Jeffrey Boyer Chapman's character felt fairly close to each other. They felt like they had a closer bond than her actual dad, or her biological dad, I should say. But also, I think in that moment for me, it reminded me of all those times and all those so-called friends or allies or family members who tell you they love you and then allow other people or even themselves to say and do terrible things, or to support terrible, how many of my family members tell me they love me and then go vote for Donald Trump, which again, we're not getting political, but like, how many of them are, because we talk about a lot about being a real ally as opposed to a performative ally. And I feel like the daughter in this was very performative and added to the gaslightiness. Is that a word? I'm making it one, whatever.
Yeah.
The
Tony, do whatever you want.
the gaslightiness of everyone, because even the husband is like, oh, you're just making it up. Oh, you're just blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, you need to listen to your significant. Why are you together in the first place if you're not even valuing their opinions?
That's just it. Malik also doesn't share anything until the middle of the movie when all the ridiculousness has happened. And I don't know if they were trying to tie that into his previous trauma and whatever the mental illness or PTSD is and just failed. But like when he comes home and the F word is written in their living room, you would think that's a conversation. Instead, he paints over it. It's like, we need a new coat, and puts in an alarm system not talking to him. And I'm just like, you can't tell your partner y'all are being targeted in your home. People have been in your home. Why is that a conversation?
That annoyed me too, especially when the F word is written on his wall. I mean, someone came into your home and defaced your property, and you're not even going to tell your husband about it. Like, I mean, I guess maybe he just didn't want to believe it, or maybe he was in denial at that point. But like, also his character is seeing all this other weirdness and acknowledging that it's weird. That didn't make sense to me.
Yeah. I mean, the beginning sets like what all three of them experienced together is that like the beginning, right? They drive through over the bridge to cross over into that whatever hell. And then the windshield breaks and it's a spiral. It makes like that kind of sign. And it's like they all three experienced that moment. And then after that, it was like, damn it. When did you just talk to him? Like, I don't know what it was. Yeah. That bridge scene scared the heck out of me.
It was the scariest part. What? No.
Yeah.
Also was confused about them saying it in 95 because like you said, they didn't really delve into the politics and the situations of 95 because like when I saw that, I was like, as a 90s kid, that was a wild ass time. But it was sort of just like glossed over. I don't know if they picked that to go back and forward for sequels or what, but like it felt like if you're gonna like be here in 95, we need to talk more about what's going on in 95 for rights and equality, as opposed to having the same microaggressions that Kieran's deal out today.
And there were a lot of other things aesthetically and stuff they would say, dialogue moments that didn't feel like 95. It felt like today, or it felt like there were moments when I was like, maybe this is today. No, maybe this is in the early 2000s. Oh no, maybe this is the 80s. Who, you know, like it kind of felt timeless to me, which I wish they wouldn't have said it in a specific, it told us they said it in a specific year and made the timelessness of, because these are, as we've spoken about, these are issues that have been around forever, since the creation of America, for sure, where one group is being targeted for being the outsider or the different group, and pitted against each other. That's really interesting too, that they do that they pit the gay men against each other, because too often people who are working to take away the humanity of the people who are different do that by saying, oh, you poor white people have so much a difference than these poor black people, and so they create conflict by people that should be supporting each other, because poor people are poor people. It doesn't matter what color you are, you know. Mm-hmm. So I that was an interesting thing that I just thought about, that they do pit the people against each other that they're trying to destroy.
I want to park it there because I'm not sure what this neighborhood community is, literally, because we see them throughout the ages and they don't seem to be aging aside from the one old guy. And we don't know the rhyme or reason they need to eat the insides of a virgin every 10 years. And I watched it twice because I'm like, surely I missed this, right? And there were no context. There was no, this is what these people are. They're just white people with robes who show up at your house when you move in. And don't age.
Checks out. Yeah, they don't. Yeah, what the heck? I wonder if it was like, yeah, like the time period showing like how it keeps going, but also like the less access to getting information. Mm-hmm. It felt like, you know, in today's, like if I saw something creepy, I would have been like Googling the house and I would have like figured things out, and I would have, you know, done my Facebook stalking. So I wonder if it's like, let's give you less technology and less ways of like, does that help the storyline and making it, I don't know. Yeah. I was wondering if that's what time period helped.
Was the guy that he's writing the story on, did that ever go anywhere? Like, did that ever, like, that seemed to be such a big, like symbolic tone. And then it was just like, okay, we're just going to scrap that and make it just, why is it there?
This is another horror movie that I feel like an hour somewhere of things that make things make sense that was just cut.
I feel like this is a short film that they tried to elongate by adding these things that they never went anywhere.
Like we get so many things mentioned. Like Also, they kept flashing back to Malik's past trauma. And so I was like, okay, so like, is this past trauma like somehow tied to this new stuff? Is this part of the reason he's not sharing things with his partner? Why are we going back other than to see this trauma? And I never felt like I got that. Like, definitely let me know if y'all picked up on something missed.
Well, the only way they bring it into the current story is that's who he believes he's talking to on the phone every time. That's who he's sharing all this shit that's happening with. Instead of his husband, he's hallucinating these phone calls with his dead ex-lover from when he was a teenager. Because at the end, he's like, call, I forget his name, but he's like, call him here, he'll tell you. And he's like, he's dead. And that's when I was like, oh yeah, that's the only way they bring it in.
So we were just using that so we can see that our narrator is unstable and mental illness is bad. Cool.
Pretty much. I feel like they could have just put that at the beginning of the movie and left it.
Because we kept going back. And I was like, why are we going back if we're not going to make this something that helps with anything?
Right.
I do love that, like, Poltergeist, The Living Dead, all know how to switch out your medications, though.
Mm-hmm.
I think, I'm telling you, if The Living Dead and, like, The Ghost opened a moving company or a delivery service, Amazon would not exist. Like, I'll be there in 10 seconds. I'll be there to haunt you in 10.
Right?
Like, but that's when I was like, they mixed up his medication. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And he didn't notice that, like, I don't know.
Did we know? Because, like, I watched this twice, like I said. Did we know he was on medication before he measured the pill next to the other pill?
He takes it a couple times.
He takes it, yeah.
Okay.
But I don't.
But it's never a moment. It's like, whoop, and
It's like a thing in the background, like a passing thing. He's like, yeah.
Right.
I was like, that's convenient. All of a sudden, be like, hey, switch this pill I never talked about. But like, if it was in the background, I'll give them that. Like,
yeah. And the way that the neighbors, especially the two main ones, reel them in by being so seemingly nice was I mean, accurate.
that Karen, whose character name is Tiffany, rolled in with the microaggressions, and like the white husband was like, they're nice people, which also made me look at him differently because she rolled over and was just like, we saw your gardener. Oh, there's not many of you around. And these other like bombs. And I was like, is this like a racist Pictionary? What is going on? Because she's giving us all the one-liners. And he's like, yeah.
That's when I knew that the husband was going to be blinded by everything because he didn't notice any of that. Jeffrey Boyer Chapman's character was like, what? What did you just say?
You see this? I was curious about the plant. I didn't like look into it more because like she gives him the plant and then like we cut to another scene and we see the plant like blooming and I'm like, is that when stuff happens? Like are y'all gardener? Like are y'all planters? Like I don't know what did it mean or was part of the whole process of like until it blooms and we attack.
It's the timer.
It's the timer. You know what? Then I'm safe. If they come to my gay house, that plant's gonna be dead. So
that's right. Don't water that plant.
I might be okay. But I don't know if that stuck out to you. I was just like, why are we focusing on the damn plant? What is happening right now?
Yeah.
So many choices were made. So, like, in the end, he decides to warn the next family by making them a CD of all the information he found. Mm-hmm. And I was like, cool story. Why didn't you give that information to your husband? Because it's all there. Because you're giving him bits and pieces. And you're acting like you can't communicate because you're so caught up in whatever we don't know you have and then playing with your pills. But you're coherent enough to be like, for the family after us, because this is not going to end well for us. Let me do this for you.
Well, I think at that point, though, the husband had been so taken in and brainwashed that I think Malik was like, there's nothing I can do at this point. He's not listening to me. He's kicked me out because he thinks I had an affair with like a teenager, it looked like.
If he puts that up there after he's kicked out, how does he get back in and when does he get back in? Because the next time he appears, he shoots the guy and they take him to jail. So I feel like it had to be done before that happened.
Had to be done after the blood scene. or
Yeah.
because that's when they noticed the stain.
Yeah. It had to be closer to that. And so it's like, if you had the foresight to do that, why did you have the foresight to give this to your husband and daughter, or share it with the media or someone outside of this town? And that's my other question. Has he no Black friends? Because usually people of a certain age end up finding other friends who are from their community, even if it's just through like life shit. Because I mean, like, don't get me wrong, it's hard in college and grad school. But like as you got in the real world, you're like, hey, we have shit in common. We're being gaslit and experiencing some of this together. Should we have a drink? And so has Malik never had that, especially after being in New York, for however long he was in New York? There's Black people in New York. I've seen them.
Sheree, you're doing character development. Stop it.
Yeah, there was no character development. He was
the
He
only
just
one.
showed up. He just showed up.
He did. No.
yeah.
I think you were right. Trenton saying this could have been a really cool short film, and leave it at that.
Right.
Do like move into a house. We different. These neighbors are crazy. The whole town. What town is that? I'm scared now. But like this whole.
Yeah, where are we? Are we? I mean, because like Jeffrey Boyer Chapman's and he's a Canadian actor. So are we in Canada? Are we in America? Are we? Where are we?
That's America, just because America's wrong.
I mean, truly. Or maybe they wanted to make it, but see, that's weird. Okay, so if they wanted to make it in like could be anywhere kind of feeling, then why put it in a specific time? Why not say? Well, I guess they wanted to say every 10 years, da 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 da. But there's other ways to say that. Putting it in a year.
No, we could
make it generic.
We could have done it today and flash back to what was going on 10 years ago, which was pretty much the same, as opposed to being like 95, but not really talk about the 95-isms. Because like as a kid, I was starting to become aware of what was going on in the news, just because it was like the hot news cycle. You know, you had like Princess Di dying, and you had like the Bill Clinton scandal, which now is like really PG. Right. And you were starting to understand hate crimes are happening, even if they wouldn't call them that and wouldn't pass the legislation, because you had to have this conversation with your kids. I remember being a kid and being like, why did they kill so-and-so? And it was like, well, that makes no sense. I don't understand the fucking world. And
I want to tag on you real quick. Oh, sorry. I jumped on you.
Yeah.
The way you mentioned that, I just looked up 1995, like historical facts. It was like November 1995, the Hate Crimes Sentencing Enhancement Act goes into effect as part of the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act of 1994. So this allows the judge to impose harsher sentences if there's evidence showing that a victim was selected because of the actual or perceived race, color, religion, national origin, ethnicity, gender, disability, or sexual orientation of any person.
Mm-hmm.
So that the Hate Crime Sentencing Act had gone through. So like, as you're talking about hate crime, I'm like,
yeah.
Well, 3 years later was Matthew Shepard.
Which was one of the first hate crimes I remember as a kid, which is why I was like, oh, we're going back to the 90s. We're going to talk about some of these hate crimes that were happening. And we didn't. And I understand I wanted to unpack all of that in a quick little Shudder movie. But when you set something, just like as any kind of creator, when you pick a time and you set something there, you have to find a way to honor that time and respect that time. Otherwise, it's just like you wanted to time travel and put on 90s clothes.
Right. But even the clothes weren't super 90s. Like there was nothing that was super 90s about this movie besides them saying that it's 1995.
The computer, but even that, those were still around in the early aughts. I had one.
I still have one of those somewhere. I'm playing Oregon Trail on it.
Yeah.
Caterpillar.
I love it.
Oh.
I love
or no,
Trail.
Snake, whatever it is. All the way back. Me and my gay self playing Oregon Trail. Make that a horror movie, The Oregon Trail.
Yes.
That's really though.
Yes.
I'm contacting Shudder right now. Shudder, give me some money.
We can do that. Have people playing it on Zoom and just see what happens.
But so yeah, yeah, so I struggle with this movie. Like I said, I'm glad that it's out there, and then I'm not glad that it's out there
Mm.
for many reasons
Mhm.
on both sides.
Yeah. Yeah. I just
But as a film, it's not like I'm gonna rush to go tell all my friends to watch it. You know,
No.
I would be like, do you want to see a scary lesbian pop out of you in the corner? And they're like, my ex. I'd be like, close. Watch this movie called Spiral. I would say those were like two of the top moments where I was like, and then the ghost rushes him with videotapes. I was like, is this
right?
Blockbuster?
I was about to say, I love
What
that.
the hell is
I love that
happening?
she's the messenger. She's like, watch these. Here you go.
Right? No.
I'd be like, what is happening?
Thanks, sis.
Hey sis. Girl, how you doing? You okay?
How's it on the other side? I'll see you soon.
Yeah, and then this whole idea of like, okay, so she's dead, so her spirit still lingers here because something's like she hasn't. I don't understand because I don't know. It wasn't clear.
And do they only kill one of the partners? So what happened to the husband?
I believe he's still in prison if he wasn't executed, because that's another issue I have, is that they picked the black man to set up for all of this. And I was like, that's shitty. And so like,
No, but I mean, what happened to the white husband? Did he die? I don't remember.
I mean, the cloak gang showed up.
yeah, like Marshall told Malik they were going to kill his family and blame him and say he broke out.
Yeah, you're right.
Like that's my other thing. There was just so much. If you have to have somebody explain what is happening, then you need to rewrite the movie, because Marshall had to walk in and be like, I'm not dead. And here's what we're going to do step by step by step. And here's what's going to happen to you step by step by step. Gonna walk out now. And I was like, or we could have just seen that.
Right.
That's what I would have done. But Shutter doesn't call.
Right. Or let's have a happy ending and let Malik break out and then go save them.
Yes.
Of course, they can't
It was
save
too
the
late.
daughter
It was
'cause
too late for Kayla.
Yeah,
It
she
It was
already
like a
gone.
Chipotle. She was like a little Chipotle bowl right there. They were just going for it. I was just like, oh man, they got her. Oh, I did feel
Extra
bad
walk.
because the dad had to walk in and see that, and I was like,
Yeah. That's another thing, because that scene was wild, but because we haven't explained why they need to crack her open and eat her, or this one kid has to, we don't know what it means and what is the ritual. What is the ritual? Do they practice witchcraft? Are they real? Are they ghosts? I don't know anything. So it's just random shit happening again, which I hate.
well, they're not werewolves because he shot him with a bullet.
Yeah.
That eliminates them. All right, give me some monsters.
It's like, guess who? It's like not vampires. They were in the daylight.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were doing that ritual dance,
Yeah.
but the grandpa dies, right? Like I'm just like every time I'm like, makes no sense.
Yes. They killed
Or did
him.
they kill him?
Without killing them. So I don't know how you kill what you can't kill. But whatever it was, they did that.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
wanted this movie to be so good, and then it was.
Me too. Yeah.
It was the 2020 of this weekend's lineup.
So far, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I haven't seen them all yet. So far, you were correct.
Dang. I'm sorry. I'm also just watching His House, and I'm like,
I made the mistake of starting it because I was like, I just want to I'm going to watch it real quick because I didn't understand time. And I got 30 minutes into it and I almost pissed myself. And before I was like, oh yeah, I have to get ready for this podcast. We're doing, what is time? I'm afraid to go back in. I have to, because we're talking about it in a few hours. So I have to finish it.
At least it's daytime.
I would
my
not be.
yeah. My electricity bill's like, why is your light? Why are you losing so much power on Halloween? I'll be like, don't worry about it.
Right? Because Jack might drop in. That's why.
Why would you say
I'm still stuck
on
in it.
Zoom?
I'm still stuck in it. I'm afraid I'll never not be stuck in it.
I still haven't watched it, so
Mm.
anyway.
That's how you
I'm
redeem
going.
like all that.
All right.
We should have
You
done
shouldn't have
that.
scared me. So Spiral. I don't know if I have any more to say about it, honestly.
Watch The Host.
Right? That's the conversation. Why didn't we watch The Host and Spiral? Well, I can't watch.
I will say I do respect that Shudder had the audacity to support a story that's a horror movie that centers queer characters, that shows a possibility for the future. Because I mean, I don't think, besides American Horror Story, but that doesn't really even do it there either. You know, I mean, there are
Netflix, yeah.
I feel like I'm gonna try and equate it to when I would go see shows in Chicago, and you'd be like, yes, we're gonna have like a Black show. We're not gonna Tyler Perry this shit. We're gonna do it right. And you go, and there was just no care given. And so like you have all these beautiful actors who deserve a better script, and you have a script that probably just needed a dramaturg to go over it once or twice, instead of a theater being like buzzwords, throw it up. And I hate that. It's its own form of tokenism and is more harmful to me than to just have me sit there and not say you didn't even try again. Because
I will say I thought I thought that the performances, all the acting was fine. There, you know, I didn't have a huge, you know, there wasn't a moment like we talked about last night in the Craft where it's like, he's dead. There's counselors. Go see him if you want.
You did.
You know, like everyone was solid. Even the white neighbors were like creepy as hell.
When Tiffany marched over with that racism, I was like, she just left a Kmart. I know her.
No, for real. So the performances were good. All the actors I support. You know, I know that, you know, some people have a bad taste about Jeffrey Boyer-Chapman after Canada's Drag Race.
Seen that season.
I haven't either, but I've seen people talk about it.
I'm gonna get wild again and do it because like I've been lucky to avoid spoilers. That never happens, especially in my circles where they're like, I know you're watching. They're like, I'm not, because I have to pay for it. So I didn't, but I guess I have to.
Yeah. All right.
Yep. Exactly.
Well, we've got. Let's check. Shrey, are you on the Facebook? Does anyone got?
I am on the Facebook. We don't have any questions, comments, or concerns.
They get
Well,
it.
anyone watching this, if you've got something, put it in there. If you've seen it, or if you just have a question for us in general, put it on there.
While we're here and sort of pause, let us one more time remind the good folks to drop your costumes in those threads because we're going to vote for the winner, and the winner will be our first guest next season.
Yes, drop your costumes. Pet costumes count.
Yes. Louise might have just won for Amanda. Like,
I need to buy her a little jean jacket.
oh, yeah.
And then we're going to hit up the Dunkins.
Yes. That's how you sell it. Get her an iced coffee.
Yeah.
Yes, so make sure also vote in our audience choice remake challenge or combat, whatever you want to call it. Hills Have Eyes is still winning. So
Do y'all really want to close this weekend out with the remake of The Hills Have Eyes? That is what we need to ask you right here, right now. If you can hear my voice, if you can see this box,
Read the chat.
and change the course of destiny, because we'll do it. But do you want us to end this weekend with that? I've never seen
So
Child's Play. I'm really important.
yeah, I haven't seen the remake of Child's Play. I've seen the original.
Oh yeah, yeah. But the remake have not seen. I've seen When a Stranger Calls. Did I see that with you or before I met you? I don't remember. It was one of those years.
I don't remember. I've recently rewatched it at work, and it is it's not super scary, but it's very stressful. It's very stressful. I was stressed that entire movie.
I wanted it to be better. I remember that. I haven't seen it in a while, so maybe I'll be less salty, but I wanted it to be better. We've pushed our business. Should we stop recording so this episode isn't an hour and play trivia? Or should we let the people have an extra 20 minutes? Don't get ready for his house, which is stressful. It's terrifying. I have to finish it. I've got to start it over.
I have heartburn.
Right? I'm gonna need a better
anxiety. I can't tell anymore.
So
Symptom?
let's see. What time are we doing his house for?
Yeah.
All right.
Is
Let's give
it
everyone
your time or my time? You would think I'd have the schedule up. That's what a good host would have done.
Pretty sure it's for my time.
4 p.m.
Okay.
Central, 5 our time.
Thank you. So that's
That's the only math I can do. You're welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate it. That's enough time for me to maybe walk over and get ice cream as Morticia Adams, maybe finish my costume, and watch a movie or two.
I love your look. Let me see. You pan down more. Let me see all the hair. Stunning. Look at those Cheerios too.
Right? No, it's a commercial for pumpkin spice Cheerios here. Thank you.
Pumpkin spice
This is the time to talk about my favorite hobby, eating pumpkin flavored things. and drinking.
That's probably the most basic white girl thing I've ever heard you say, Shrey.
Yeah.
Possibly.
You went. "Yeah."
I just have one question for you. Do you have Uggs on right now?
No, I have my house shoes on. I was gonna put on the boots, but I was like, nobody can even see this. Like, it's all shoulders and lipstick and this wig that lives last night in that hoodie. Didn't think about that.
My lights just flickered and I'm like,
It's Jack.
what? Can't with you.
Just dropping in. Look.
No.
He's got something to say. He said, I love Spiral. It's my favorite movie I ever saw.
Right?
I'll be like, you need to leave. This is not okay. I will sage and basil you out. Like I have that right there in the fridge. So
All right.
I love it.
Well, let's get off here and see everyone back here at 4:00 for talk about his house. Stay fierce out there.
Bye.